You see here this database communications, which will have a repository package. So inside this Spring Boot, we have a repository package was there and controller was there. Inside that we don't have any service package or folders. Inside the controller only we have written the service business logic, because this is a simple application, so that's why they created like that. We have a UI. So in this UI we created a component, and the component will have a 2 3 4 things, which have a create, update, delete, and then fetch the details. So for that we have same src. In that we have a component and service. So this component, we have a list of employee, update employee, view employee, create employee. So how we are creating, and this has the service. So this is service. So if you see here, yesterday we already discussed backend part. So here we have a front end part. So we, whatever the request will come from the front end, it will go to the back end. So the same thing, JS we have to create in this front end also. So see, this is the component JS. So if you see here, this component JS, sorry, this component, we have multiple JS are there. So if you see here, so we have a create employee component. So in this create employee component, we have create a class and extending the component. So component is the parent class, like in similar to the Java. So what we are doing, we are importing this. So how we will import? Based on the React, import React and this component, which from where it is a React. Like that, if you want to create a service, so we have employee service, from where in the services, employee service. So this is the services, right? So this is the services. Here also we need to import these services. So like that, create employee component will take the features from this component, existing component, and employee service also, because we need to communicate from this component to this employee service in UI also. So what we are doing here, we are creating a component, and then we have already seen some React basic thing in W3 tutorials, like how we are creating a component, how we are calling and all. So this is the constructor. So this constructor, and this is a super constructor. So this is the constructor and super constructor, they are using this one. So here, just a minute. ओवर हो रहा है खुशबू मोमो उधर हाँ यहीं पे हाँ जय भाई 9 बजे हाँ 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 वो क्लास चले हम करे 9 बजे जेबे छोड़ दो अभी रह दो अब कल ले देख लेते रह दो अभी अब दुकान अभी बंद हो मुझे ठीक ठीक वही मार्केट बंद कितना जस्ट so here we have a constructor and super. So these all are the ID. So inside this state, we have to mention what type of things we have to add, this ID, first name, last name, email IDs and all. So for this create employee, I need a 4 parameters. One is ID, first name, and then last name, and then email. So this change first name handler will have a this stuff, and we are binding with this parameters, this state. So here we have make as this state as ID, first name, last name, email ID, and after that we are checking this state, and then if this one will be, these conditions will satisfy, then it will go for this inside this if conditions. or else it will go for this else conditions. So in this else conditions we have employee service. So whatever the parameters we have here, ID, first name, last name, email ID, that will be communicating with this employee service dot get employee by ID. So get employee by ID is a method. Here we are taking this dot state dot ID, then we need to take as a response. So response we have this employee dot res dot data which will be coming, and after that we are doing the state, set state. So in this set state we have first name as a employee dot first name and last name as a employee dot last name, and this email as a employee dot. So we are binding this one. So all this data we are binding with this field, and then like that this is the create one. So if you want to get this employee by ID, so this will be called. Like same we have update. So if you want to update that the ID, then we have a update, and so these all are the on click event. Like we have a button. So once we create a UI page, create employee details. See here, just a minute, we will show you this Java. So if you go here, this full stack, inside this Spring Boot React.js, so here so see here, so this is employee management. So here we need to do this create, update, deletes, and this one. So if you are doing for this add employee, so an add employee, create employee details will call. So this create employee component will be there. So here we have a buttons, like this button have success and on, failure, or cancel. So like that. So we have add employee. So if you click here for this add employee, so these all are the technology which we are using, and then this is the pre-requested. These two things we have developed, REST API, Spring Boot, and React, and then server side tools and client side tools. So client side need a React, npm, JavaScript, VS Code, and CLI, React application CLI, and Bootstrap if required. So this is the UI page which we seen, this one. So this employee list we need to create. Here we have update button, delete button, view button, and employee detail. So add employee, in add employee we have some buttons will be there to add this employee or cancel that employee. So here we have a form group. This form group we have a email address, last name, first name. So while we are creating an employee details, so these things we have to use, and then all this things we have to update. So these all are the parameters which we passed, and after that we have a save or update employee details. So this employee details which will be there, and in that case we have this all conditions which we have to full. After that we'll have a event. So that event will be target. So this event, this dot state, first name, last name. So we seen already, right? In this React we have events and all. In W3 if you open here, React W3, React W3. So inside this, if you see here, we have multiple events are there. Like we are creating a component. See what is component, what is class, what is props, what is event. So we are creating events, right? Conditions and routers. So how we are routing that, how we are creating, how we are component, pros, and then events. So here we are checking the events. After that we need to create all the event. So this we have a event. So change first handler event, then set event, like that. We have all the events for this last name, first name, ID, email ID, and all. and this is the cancel button which have a history.push will be there. So if you want to cancel, that will be got cancel. And if you need a 10 titles, then we have to add this titles as a headers, add employee or update employee, which we seen here, add employee and update employee. See, add employee is there, right? So this will be the titles which will be seeing in this UI page, or update employee also will be there if you want to update the employee. And this is the renders, in that we have to returns. So these all are div, br and all this HTML tags which is required to do this page will be interactive or attractive with this HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So these things, so we have created a div as a class and some of the columns names defines and all. And these forms we created, in these forms we have put it multiples div, and these all are the fields name we passed, and input type as a placeholder. So while users can add in this button, so once you add the button, so these all are the placeholders will be there which we have to enter the details. And once you click on the button, so once click on the success, this just JavaScript will be called this dot save or update employee. So save of update employee is coming from here. So once it will call, they will check the conditions of employee list, first name, last name and all. So here they will check if else conditions, and after that, that will go for the, this request will go for the UI to backend. So backend in Java. Backend in Java. And now if you see here, this is the component we seen, create employee component. If you see the service of inside this employee service, so this employee service we are calling in this every component. So if you see here in this component, so whatever the component is there, create a component, there we are using employee service. So this is the employee service. This is the employee service. Here we have a get employee by ID is there. So we need to check either get employee by ID is there or not inside this. So if you see here, get employee by ID is there. So get employee ID, which is calling, this component is calling from this service to this one. So why? Based on the employee ID, they are doing some employee API based URL. So employee based API based URL is this one, localhost, right? So localhost 8080 API v1/employee. So this is coming from where? Backend. We have seen already in the backend. So if you run this controller, so this is a controller, right? So if you run the controller, so inside this controller, main Java, we have a net, we have Java guide. So inside that we have a Spring Boot main application, right? After that it will go the controller. So in this controller, if you see here, this controller we have a same API like this one, API v1, right? So API v1 is there, right? Localhost 8080 is the backend applications, so which is coming from here. Resource, this application dot property, here not there. So by default localhost 303,000 is the React, and localhost 8080 for the Java. So if you see here, so localhost 8080 API/v1, because this is the controller class, so the parent URL is API/v1, and after that we have a /employee, right? It means this URL will call, get all the employee details will be there. So if you see here in this React.js, we are calling the base URL here, right? So base URL is localhost 8080 API/employees, right? So it means this employees will be called. Which employees? In this controller from the backend, this will be called. Create employee rest is there, it means this will be called because of we have a post mapping. So post mapping means create the employee details. So if you are doing create the employee details, means this employees will be called slash employee. Everywhere we have a slash employee. Get also we have a slash employee. Get means get the data, but we are doing some post operations, so here we have a call this one. So we have a post mapping. So this post mapping will be annotated with here. So how this communication is happening from UI to backend? Why? Because of we have added base URL as a constant. So we created a constant and base URL this is, so this will be redirected to the front end to backend. Now the backend has do the operations and they will call this service, and after service they have database communication. So in this database communication we are doing some save. It means data will be saved, whatever the request is coming from the backend, front end to backend. So backend will take as a request body employee details, like ID, name, first name, last name and email, and then they will do the repository call. After business operations they will do the repository call and they have to save the data. So they have employee data there, they will save the data. After saving they are doing some returns. Returns means they will create a returns object for the create employee as an employee, and that will be returned from where? It will return to the UI, like employee has successfully created or something, or whatever the employee you created, that details will be there. So how it will be redirect from this backend to UI? So in this we have a cross origin, right? At the rate cross origin, and here we have mentioned the default URL. So what is the default URL? HTTP localhost 3000. But in front end to backend we have to mention the proper URL from which API we have to call. API slash v1, either post, get, put, deletes and all. So if you are doing the get employee, then get API will call. If you are doing the create employee, then post API will call. If you are doing update employee, then update, and if you are doing delete employee, then delete will be called. Like that we have a multiple APIs there, right? Get employee, post employee, and then get employee by ID is there. Get employee, get all employee, post, put employee, and delete employee, like that. So we are doing some business operation here, and after that we are calling some repository, means database operation. So this is the controller part and this is the business part. So this business part we are doing here only, depends on this development. Some of the developers will be worked on in the same controller. If the application is simple, then they can add, instead of service, proper service packaging folders, they can create a business logic inside the controller also. So like that we have a multiple real applications are there. If you see here, if you will search, this is the GitHub. So in GitHub already we told it's a tools where we have to push the code. So we have a multiple repository will be there where we can push the code in our organizations or where we are working from the particular clients. But this is a open GitHub, so anywhere can access this code. Someone is uploaded, then we can take as a reference and all. So if you see here, if you will search React with full stack, Java full stack, it means all the Java full stack React applications will come. So suppose we have a 93 result is there. Inside see many projects are there. Someone has created and they uploaded as a public. Means anywhere anyone can access. So see here, this first one, full stack with React.js as a front end and front end as a React.js, backend is a Spring Boot with Java, and the database is this one, MySQL database, right? So we have three layer already. One is the backend layer, another is front end layer, and the other is database layer. So in this case they are using MySQL database. So this is the application, CRUD application, which we are discussing right now. Like the same, this is a credit card management. So credit card management, the technology they are using React with a Spring Boot Java 8. So if you want to look at the Java 8, so this will be the good applications. But first one is based on the Java 7, I think. So they have not yet mentioned Java 8. And If you want to see this e-commerce based application, see this is the full e-commerce based application. So this e-commerce based applications React.js with Java, and database is MySQL, and even they are deploying. See the content deployed on AWS. So they are also using AWS cloud here. And what type of service they are using? Elastic service, Beanstalk service, RDS service, ACM service. So how you know what type of service are there inside this AWS? So AWS Amazon Web Service. So this is the Amazon Web Service. So if you open here Amazon Web Service, so we have a multiple services will be there. So these all are the part. If you sign in, so we can create a multiple web services. So now we have a this one, like that we have a multiples applications are there. If you see many full stack application with the Spring Boot, Java, with React JS and all. If you want, you can go through all those which all are required for you. So this is a invoice generating. So invoice generating management, this is from AI based. So they have also used some AI concept also with the full stack like this. So if you see here, this one's like we have a e-commerce based application. So this is a just a CRUD application which we discussed. So like same we have a backend and front end. So if you see here, backend we have a SRC, right? So this is POM based, like Maven we are using. POM based means pom.xml means Maven we are using, and in POM we have all the dependency details will be there, which all are we are using. And this is the main application inside that. If you will go for that, so we have a controller, model, repository, services are there. So see in these cases they have created a service, means business logic. So all the business logic here we are writing. So employee.services, this is the this is an interface, right? So in interface, see here, we already discussed before package. What is package? We already discussed before import, how we are importing. So this is the way we are importing. So if we have multiple subclasses, subfolders are there, so that we are importing here. And then what is a service? So if we created a service, then we have annotated at the service, means this business logic will be there. Here we are using some util. So list we are using is a list is the part of collection framework. So array list, linked list, vector, stack we discussed on the collection framework. So this we are using, and we have created interface. So this is the interface. So interface already we discussed, like interface always abstract methods will be there. There is no implementation, so all methods are abstract here. So what type of methods are there? Save employee means get employee, and then get employee by ID. If you want get all employee, then get all employee, and then update employee and delete employee. So 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 these all are the interface is there. So for this interface we have a implementation. So see here in this business logic we have a implementation. So if you open this business logic of implementation class, which we discussed before also, so inside that, see here we have a models. So that models have input output from the employees coming. We have an exception. This is some exception if any error will come. And this is the package which is there in IMPL, and this is the import. And there we have a service, repository, all are importing, and we have list. And in Java 8 we see optional, right? Optional means null pointer exception can be handled through the optional. So this features from coming from the Java 8, and this is coming from the collection framework. So both are in part of util. So we have imported util import package. Now see in this service we are implementing, because this is class and this is the interface employee service. So we are implements keywords we used, and here we are using public private. So public is the class, private is the this repository. So after that we have a public method employee service, and inside that we have this we are using. So what we are creating, we have created the constructor. So the public constructor, and this is a parameterized constructor where we are passing employee repository. So after that, this dot employee repository, we have employee repository. So this is the current class of constructor. For that purpose we are using this. If you have supers, mean immediate parent class of constructor. So first method was there, save method, right? So this is the save method, and inside this save method we have a repository, means database communications. Repository means database communications will happen and they will save the employee details which is coming from this UI. We are taking that and we are saving here. After the saving, we are sending the public save employee. Like that, we have a list of employee. So if you want, we have a list of employee. If you want, you have a get employee by ID. So we have optional here. See, we are using Java 8 features here. So we have put it optional employee repository dot find by ID. If ID will not be present, then in that cases we are getting a resource not found exception. Like that handling we are using optional. If not, null or null will be there. So that, and this is the update. So here we are using lambda, right? So this is the lambda symbol. So this is the lambda symbols. Through that we are getting this information. Repository dot find by or else throw, and then this is the lambda we created, and then we are setting this value, set first name, this employee dot get first name, like that. So we are using setter getter, and then see employee to DB. We are storing this as a employee to DB because we are doing some update operation. After that updating, this will be return employee. So this employee will be update, and then it will be send this response to the UI page. Like that, all the delete operations and all is there. So this is the business logic where we are doing some business operations. Whatever the details is coming from the UI, it will go for the controller, and controller will send the request to the service layer, or service layer will go for the repository layer. They will do some operations, add, update, delete, modify and all, and after that the same request it will go for the controller again, and some repository to service, service to controller, and then controller will send to the UI page. How UI page? Because of cross origin is there. So through that, whatever the local host URL will be there, that will be added. So like that we have this application. This is also simple CRUD application, and if you see here we have two things as a front end and back end. So back end we seen, and go for the front end. So once you install the front end, so this front end we have a component service will be there, and then these all are the package structure. So some of the JS, index.js, index.css, and this all is required. So you have to create, and after that main is the service file and component file. So suppose if you have four things, so we have a create, list, view, add, update, and then header, footers will be the service, component will be there, and whatever the component you are creating, for that all the services details will be available here. Create, get, update and delete. So you need to communicate this service to the component in this. So we have like same of many full stack developments are there, like full stack credit card management web application. So this is mainly used to manage the credit card. So how we are managing the credit card application, so this is the details also there inside this. So what is full stack credit card technology they are using? So the front end they are using JavaScript. We seen like ECMA script 6, React JS, and then Ajax, some Java jQuery, HTML, CSS they are using as a front end. But a back end we have a Java 8, we have a Spring Boot, we have H2 in the memory. So here they are using H2 database. We have a one more H2 database, is also relational database I think. Instead of SQL they are using S2 database, and Maven they are using as a build tool, and JUnit for the testing the application. So this is the functionality overview. and this is the technology overview. So if you see here, backend credit card and front-end credit card. So this backend credit card, same thing. We have src pom.xml means Maven project, and then here main application credit card. So inside this they have not created any folder structure, like there is no much package is there. Directly inside this single folders they have application.java means main main page, and then credit card controller service there. So inside this service only they are doing some database operations and all. And the same way if you see here the front end, so inside this front end we have this src we have a component. So this component form, card list, tables, validation error. So how we will validate, and then app.css jss and all they are created. This is also full stack development. So contact information, if you want to store the contact information, so how you will do this one. So if you want to write this application contact information based on the full stack CRUD application, so this is the same way. Most of the that coding will happen based on the CRUD application. Like business operations can insert, delete, update and modify. So see here, this is the controller. So inside this is the many things they have added from the backend. Controller is the main part, which is request is coming from the backend and handled in this controller. This CRUD application is the main file, which is a main application. Public static void main will be there inside this. After that request will go for the controller. Whatever the request will coming from the main UI to controller, controller will send this request to the service layer, this service layer, last one. And after this service, if anything will be there, database related things, then it will go for the repository layer. So they have created multiple layer inside that, divided the a larger application in this different folder structure. If any exception will come, then we have exception layer. If any property need to be added, then we have a property layer. If any response, this is the request. So for whatever the data coming from the UI, so what type of request field will be there, that we have added here. So suppose we have a contact DB. So contact DB related, this is the field which is there in the database. So we have to mention the table name, ID and all this field. And for the response we have some response folders inside that. So how we will take in as a response and all. So see here we are using map. So we seen in hash map. So when to use hash map, when to use tree map, when to use linked hash map and all. So here we are using hash map due to some requirement based on the key and value if you want, and the things. So schedulers, if you want to do some schedulers to run this job particular hours, particular second, particular minute, so we have thread class was there. So in this thread we have a scheduler concept that will be run. If you want to add some security, like only particular user admin can access this contact information or anyone, then we have to add the security implementation here. So they this way they have created, but mostly this application will handle create, update, delete and modify. So contact database controller is there, which have a, see here, cross origin as a start, means whatever request will come, any type of local host details will come, it means that will be handled in backend. Like whatever the request, either localhost 3030 3031 or anything will be there which is coming from the UI, that will be taken care here. So how it will come, because in this UI they will send some backend API call, then only it will be handled. So in this contact we have read all contact, delete, update all contact, delete all contact, modify all the contact, right? Like that we have a multiple database operation API is there. So this controller means REST API. So controller means REST API call, service means business logic, repository means database call from the backend. And then front end, if you see here the front end, so this front end we have a src, right? So this index.html will be there, or index.js, or any react.js or anything will be there, where this is the main applications where we have to click on that, and after that it will go for the src. So inside this src we have a, they created component and service, right? css there, app.css, app.jsx is there, hello.js, index.css and all they created. After that we have a service. So in this service, if you open, so see here we are calling this one, right? Base url contact api.contact, where from the backend, from this url, from ui to backend, we are calling this a backend here. But in backend what we see, cross origin as a star. So whatever the, anyone can communicate with this, or a star means. So this is the component. So this component we have contact, footer, header, list of the contact and all, contact components and all. So like that we can maintain the contact. So these all are the application. If you want, you can see from yourself also, that will be available in the GitHub. Just you have to search this way, like React with Java full stack developer, or full stack code. So you will get multiples. So we have seen most of the important code which is required to understand this credit card management, this contact info, and this is just employee management. So many where we seen employee management examples. So this is also a demo of employee management. So same way everywhere they are using this CSRC component service is there. So just you have to go through the component service in backend. What in backend controller, repository, and SR service will be there. Like the same. See, if this main, inside that controller is there, service is there, and repository is there. These three. So DTO and DT entity. So in this DTO means input, like what type of input is required, which is there in this our UI also, same field in the UI also, and same field we need to use in our backend also. So ID, first name, last name, email. So we created a separate as an entity, and others is sorry DTO, and other is as entity. Entity, some of the developers will use a model class also, or entity class also. So this is a database tables. So the tables name is employee tables, entity, and then data type ID as a generated automatically, that will be generated in this database, increased by one, ID, first name, last name, and email. So this is the database table information, and that is a the DTO is the same ID fields will be there in the user UI or backend also. So these fields, so we have seen public, we have seen class, we have seen public, private, protected, default, we have seen import, we have seen package, we have seen collection framework, we have seen exception, we have seen thread, we have seen interface, abstract class, abstract method, inheritance, implement, extend. If you see in this business logic, we have a interface, right? We have a util class dot list is there. So we are fetching the list of employee. Why list of employee? So if you open this implementation, so all the implementations are there. We have seen this constructor, super constructors we are using, and then this is the Java 8 stream map we are using, right? So see here how we are using this Java 8 concept here. See, I want to fetch get all employee, right? So get all employee means all the employee details I want. So we need a list of employee entity, and then this repository. So from where we have to find, so we have a list of employee I want, so we created one method get employee, right? So get employee, just a minute. to get employee, we have a list of employee entity we created, and as an employee entity as a reference just we created because I need a list of employee detail, right? Now what we are doing, we are fetching the detail from the database, because get of all employee we need to fetch the detail from the database. So we have employee repository dot find all. Find all means all the data will come from employee to fetch the employee detail. So inside this employee repository you need to see this find all method, what they are doing. Once we find all, then what we are doing based on the Java 8 list of employee entity. So this is the employee entity reference dot, because we need to set the detail inside this reference. So employee entity dot stream. Stream means processing the data by using a stream function in Java 8. So list employee entity dot stream, and map means converting from one state to another state. So employee, so this is employee means employee entity employee class. So in this employee, because this is employee type, so we mention emp lambda new employee. Just we created one object emp lambda new employee, and here emp dot get id, emp dot get name, emp dot last name, emp dot name, and here we are collecting, need to collect by using collectors and to list, means all the data is coming as a list of employee. So we are placing here as an employee entity. This employee entity will go for the same list of employee, and then we will return this employee list like that in Java 8. So also we seen this Java 8 features here, and if you open this repository, so see here we have a find all method is there. So why find all method is not there, because this is interface, and in this interface already we have a abstract class is required, but we use find all. So JPA we are using, so JPA is a specification to call this Hibernate communications or database. So they have inbuilt library a specification where find all methods and all implementation inside there only. So all those things inside there, so directly we can access, no need to declare like this. So if you want, you can see the JPA. What is JPA? This is the JPA tutorial, just overview of JPA. Just go through this JPA so that you will understand this JPA part. It's a way where we are communicating with this backend to database layer. So we have multiple ways. If you are doing the any database communications, then JPA will be easier. So just 4 to 5 concepts are there here to learn the JPA. So we have many are there in this application. So whatever we see in this one, this is like a brain exercise. If you want to create one application related for brain exercise, how brain exercise will happen, how to do and all, and you want in the front end to back end, so this is the way which we have to create a brain application, so that applications will do exercise and all. So this is the overview how this will be created and what is the way to create. So this is the overview of that, and here they have backend and front end application. So in this front end also, see we have SRC. So in this SRC, component and service they created. So if you see here the backend, so this backend also we have a SRC. In SRC we have a controller, repository and service will be there. So this users and change, there are two things they have created. So one is the users data, another is challenge data. So what type of challenge you have to do for the brain exercise. So in this challenge we have a controller. See, we have controller is there, right? We have a service is there, right? And inside that, if don't require to have a database communication, then it will not have a repository, or maybe inside this service class only they have to add the database communications. So depends on the requirement or development. We don't have any database call here, so just we are doing this some challenges and all. So what type of exercise and all we have to do some operations or challenging from the brain. So we created an application. So this is also React blog applications. If you have, like we have a blog, right? So this is a blog. Java guide is also blog. So if you want to create some blog and like this, so this is a very big blogs. So if you see the blogs like this, if you want to create some blogs related applications where we have to maintain all those things, so we have a front end is there, a back end application is there. So in this front end also same structures, but here in this front end also they have added some page, like we have a multiple page will be there, right? Like this, inside this we have multiple pages will be there, multiple headers are there. Inside these headers we have these all are the, so these all are the pages will be created. So like that if you want to create, so we have page context component and authentications and all will be there. And then backend, if you see this front end and backend and blog, app, image and all many things will be there. So if you want to create that way, we have to do just revise. So we have a config, controller, entity, exception, payload, what type of payloads, repository, security and services. So like this will be there. Company management, if you want to create a company related management project which will be handled by the, what all are the assets are there in this company, how we will manage. So for that we can create this applications. And this is the employee management, already we seen. This is also employee management applications, and this is also employee management applications. And this is a invoice management. If you want to generate an invoice, so what type of invoice, so this is a React 16.18. so inside this React we have a UI. So this UI src, inside this src they created component css, js and then index.js, this all. So here we have a multiple components will be there. So these all are the components are there. So while we generate the invoice, like, so in invoice will have a multiple things like grid will be there, favicon will be there, footers will be there, headers will be there, some logos will be there, right? So how we will create an invoice? So for this particular company, if I want to create, add data will be there, tables will be there, tabs will be there. So like that everything we have to create in this JS in JavaScript in the React. And then backend, if you see, so the backend we have a connection, implementation, model and service. So database connections we have, and then implementations like invoice, DAO, invoice data access object will be there. So and models which will have a input invoice. So in invoice what will be there, like these all are the parameters you need, like customer ID, company name, company code and all areas defined, unique ID, release date and something. So like that many things are there which you have to create invoice. And then some package info not there. So these all are the ways we can see the multiples Spring Boot microservice with the help of React full stack development. If you want, you can check this reference and just go for the simple applications and some of the mid level applications also there. Just go through this all and let me know if you have any doubt while you are understanding this full stack application. So how we'll communicating with this React to backend and backend to database. So we seen like we have AWS related applications also was there. We seen multiple database communication also was there, and we seen multiple packaging structures. Based on that they created different full stack development. So I think we have 93 results are there. Just go through this 3 to 4 and then we will discuss like if you are able to understand or not. If not, then we will clarify all this doubts. Right? Any doubt you have right now?
No.
Just try to just I requesting you all, just try to open any React application from here and just try to understand all the front end, all the back end, all the database call. If you are not able to understand, then let me know so that we will clarify all, and also go through the some of the topics which you are not able to understand. Like if you are not able to do event or routers or props or some component, so then go through this one, like what is props, what is class, what is events, and just try to understand why we are creating that and what is the use of that. So just try to one basic application, try to set up in your local machine to do that. If not, then we will clarify that all. So maybe tomorrow onwards we will have a doubt session also. Like sorry, tomorrow is Saturday, Sunday. So Monday onwards, within 2 3 days, we will complete this session, all the sessions. So if you have doubt, then let me know for 29, 30th, and 31st, so that we will clarify all the doubts and all. But before that, go through the 2 3 applications, anyone, any of that, and just try to understand whatever the topic we cover is you are able to understand or not. So if not, then just go for the database in this as W3, React in W3, or some Java from there, any T points or tutorials
So,
point.
Amarjit, you will not finish this React all topic. You will not cover this.
React we can cover, but just the basic things you have to go through here also, and if you want, then we can discuss all one by one here from here also with the examples,
Okay.
because we have only 3 to 4 days remaining to complete this session. Uh, so that's why we have given this one. If you want, you can, or else if you want, then of 2 3 days is remaining. There we will clarify all the topics based on the examples. Is that fine? Whatever you want,
Yeah.
I will do that.
Mhm.
Okay, then
Yeah, because form router that like importer, right? The event form router.
yeah, in React only component, class, props, event, and routers is very important things. After that, some hooks are there that will also important.
Yeah, try to like cover the important topic. So
Okay, okay. I already covered just a overview of that, but if you want, then we will go for all the examples also. And but before that, you can go through this some of the examples which is in this GitHub. Any of that you can
mhm.
just go through that, so that if you are not able to understand, then also we will clarify that topic also. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, then we'll go for this all those examples step by step in within 2 3 days from Monday to Wednesday, and also let me know if
Mhm.
any doubt and go through the all the some of the code here.
Okay.
Okay, then we are closing here. Thank you all.
Thank you. Yeah. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
उधर